Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. We will return to our regularly scheduled program momentarily. Please stay tuned. We expect to resume normal broadcasting shortly. Be sure to stay tuned for Jeopardy!
I've been running in circles, trying to find the beginning. I wonder if I've lost my way, or if I'm somehow winning. I've been running in circles, trying to find the end. I know I've lost my mind, but I'm finding it fine to try and pretend. Running in circles, trying to find the beginning. I wonder if I've lost my way, or if I'm somehow winning. I've been running in circles, trying to find the end. I know I've lost my mind, but I'm finding it fine to try and pretend. And this daydream seems to have gone on too long, and this daydream seems to have turned into a song. But as long as I've spent it with you, I dream this dream the whole day through. 'Cause this feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. 'Cause this feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. So let's go back to the verse and say a few words about not being afraid to be burned, and not believing everything you've learned. 'Cause a lesson taught isn't a lesson learned about not running in circles, trying to find your place in the whirlpool of this world, when the reason and rhyme is staring at you the entire time. And this daydream seems to have gone on too long, and this daydream seems to have turned into a song. But as long as I've spent it with you, I dream this dream the whole day through. 'Cause this feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. 'Cause this feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. So just close your eyes and feel the rain on your skin. Don't be afraid to let me in, and I'll love you, oh, I'll love you, oh. This feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. 'Cause this feels like a daydream, trying to catch my feet in a slipstream. And I'm going nowhere fast, I'm going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. So just close your eyes and feel the rain on your skin. Don't be afraid to let me in, and I'll love you, oh, I'll love you, oh.
So we turn left from Stanley Avenue to walk along the footpath between the church and the doctor's surgery down to Mount Pleasant. Occasionally during this walk I'm showing old aerial photos taken by aerofilms from the Britain from Above website, and X, the red X on the photo, is the point at which I'm standing when I'm talking to you as the photo comes onto the screen. Past the small recreation ground at the end of the alleyway, right down to Mount Pleasant, to the end to Ealing Road. The road down to Alperton is closed at the moment as they put in new facilities for the tower block that's going up on the corner down there. Turning right into Ealing Road and crossing over to St James's Gardens. Now, somewhere here just by St James's Gardens is where St James's Church was first founded. A tin hut building. When the new church was built in 1904, I think, in Stanley Avenue, the tin hut building was dismantled and moved up to between Stanley Avenue and Clayton Avenue, and became the back hall. And just there, we're not going to pass it very closely, you will see the entrance gateway to the temple opposite Alperton Baptist Church. And all I remember about that site, really, there was a Brent Teachers Centre there. It was an old school, but in the 1970s the council built a new public convenience in front of it, and they had a grand opening ceremony with bands and everything. This is the only picture I've been able to find of the event, which was from some of the lads of Alperton High School being the first to use the facilities. You get a glimpse of the temple between these houses as we walk up St James's Gardens. Once it was moved to become the back hall between Clayton and Stanley Avenues, the original church building, well, had a knockabout existence with youth clubs and things, kicking balls around, and the brigades doing drill in it week after week. But then in the 1990s, when the Edwardian church was in a bad state of repair and needed to be rebuilt, it came back into its own as the church building that was used by St James Alperton for a year or so. The site eventually being sold to pay for the 1990s building, and it's now an Asian supermarket. The end of St James Gardens, we come into the One Tree Hill open space. I'm going to walk straight up to the top of the hill. A great view across towards Horsenden Hill from here, from the trig point. And in the other direction towards the stadium, across Wembley. The Piccadilly line winding its way between the hills on its way to Rayners Lane, the old district railway route, originally just to South Harrow. These days the council leave the hillside here as a wildflower meadow, doubtless partly to save money. Hello.
Oh, hello, Jeff. Hi. Yeah.
So at the bottom of the hill we're going to go half left across the big meadow. The children's playground was moved here from where it used to be over by the railway many years ago now. And we're making our way to the field that runs behind the back of these houses. So at the far end of the park, we come out into this road. Good view back across the park to the top of the hill. And just walk along the street. And at the end, just keep in the same direction, bearing left. As we come out onto Chaplin Road. Now all these houses are built on what was farmland, dairy farmland. The BARHAM name is going to come up quite a bit in the next few minutes. But G. TITUS BARHAM, I can't remember whether he was part of the Copeland family or by marriage or what the exact relationship between the two families are. But it was a big dairy farm. The twin roof building ahead was the dairy. It was founded as the Express Dairy, quite a famous name in its time in London. And all the milk, all the cows came over here, I believe, to be milked. We're not talking that long ago, early 20th century. And we come up to the Harrow Road, the A404. Quite an old road, the main road from London to Rickmansworth and Amersham back in the day. Fusilier pub, still trying to keep business going. Something you don't often see along this road is an 83 bus, but because of that road closure at Alperton, they have a very long diversion. So these buildings on the edge of Barham Park were part of the manor house that the Barhams lived in. They gave the grounds and the park to the council at some point in the early 20th century. Come into the formal gardens. We turn right. Huge gunnerer, very overgrown and polluted fish pond and a little stream that runs down there. Not that it's an artificial stream, not you could really notice it these days. Large parts of this park didn't used to be open. Lots of it was kept away from public opening, but it's all open now. Here's a relatively new feature of the park. This war memorial isn't the official borough war memorial. I think that's the one in St John's Churchyard, nearer the high road. This one was moved here from Stonebridge bus depot when that was closed. It's had a new plaque put on it to mark it as the Brent one, but if we go round the back, sorry, this one says it was unveiled by Field Marshal Lord Bramall in 1994, Lord Lieutenant of Greater London, so that's how long it's been here. But what it was originally was the depot memorial for Stonebridge Park bus depot, or rather, as it says there, Stonebridge Park tram depot. As we continue along Harrow Road, it's worth noting that these roads that lead off it are all named after other public schools. We have Eton Avenue and Charterhouse and Rugby, all named after other public schools, to Harrow, of course. And we come up to the roundabout at the Sudbury Swan pub, and we're going to take this little turning down on the right. So we turn briefly into Eton Avenue. So we turn left along this path into the Vale Farm Sports Ground. The path straight ahead leads up to what was once a wonderful open-air swimming pool. Vale Farm swimming pool, but in one fell stroke, I don't know, sometime in the 1970s, late 70s, early 80s, Brent Council closed all its open-air pools. This one, Kingsbury Willesden, it's replaced the one up there with a rather small, not very attractive indoor pool. We're now going into a new housing estate along a path that has only been there since the houses were there. The spiritual home for many people of the Wasps Rugby Football Club. This was the football stadium for Wasps. I always used to think Wasps stood for something like Wembley and Sudbury something, but it didn't. They moved off and sold up in the 1990s, and these roads are named after Wasps players of the era.
The 16th minute when Tim Smith gave Gloucester the lead with a penalty. They were on top for only 4 minutes, Rob Andrew pulling the Wasps back into the game with another penalty. Andrew gave them the lead.
This is now the end of Repton Avenue, coming in from the right. Repton, another famous public school, of course, and that building up there is the only bit left of the original Wasp stuff. That was the Wasps clubhouse at the edge of their stadium estate. We're going to enter into, walk round the Vale Farm sports ground. This is a huge amount of open land. Surprising it's lasted as long as it has, really. So we've walked around this field. The Wasps clubhouse is over there. This part wasn't Wasps, this was, as far as I'm aware, this has always been Brent Council land. And we're going to walk up now to East Lane through this gap in the hedge. I'm going to turn right into East Lane and cross the road when I can and walk up towards North Wembley Station. Now we're coming up to two large industrial estates. Even though they're now owned by the same company, they are two separate estates, and the first one surrounds that white building which we're going to take a look at. So the first one requires us to do a sharp U-turn and walk back towards the railway. Although both estates are now owned by the Wembley Commercial Centre, they remain unlinked apart from at East Lane entrance. They're run as two separate places. The original road to this building ran to the right of where I am. This was railway sidings which served these two complexes. There are two buildings here. Very large factory complex, all designed to make one thing. Here's an advert for the product.
Carry the big fresh flavor wherever you go, whatever you do. It's the finest pack of flavor wherever you go, whatever you do.
Flavor this big shouldn't be left behind. So wherever you go, carry a pack of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum.
Wrigley's Spearmint. It's the finest spearmint flavor. The great Wrigley taste, delicious to chew. Wrigley's Spearmint Gum.
So this was the Wrigley's factory. So the only link between the two halves of this estate, as it ever was, is to go back to East Lane and then take the next exit, which is right next door to this one. Two separate factories. We've seen the Wrigley's one. We're now going to go into the huge complex which became GEC, the General Electric Company. So right now I'm standing by that roundabout, having just walked in from East Lane down there, and this is the site. Roads like Lumen Road, Osram Road, Magnet Road. These are the names that have come from GEC. This was clearly one of the largest employers in the area. The site goes on for, well, the best part of, over half a mile certainly, from East Lane, going along this road in this direction, and both sides of the road as well. It's now small industry. Large buildings have been torn down and there's storage. The local National Health minibus service operates off this site. And here is Hurst Hall. The Hurst Research Lab was one of the famous things that GEC had. And I imagine this building is probably listed.
From brand new bowling alleys to, no, not miniature bowls, but a production line of electric light bulbs. Objects taken so much for granted that about the only time they attract attention is when they fail. One of the first steps in this exceedingly complex task, carried out in a factory in Wembley, London, is to take a carefully measured portion of tungsten powder and sprinkle it into a mould prior to pressing. What, and you may well ask, has a tremendously hard metal like tungsten got to do with a fragile thing like an electric light bulb? The answer, as you'll see, lies in the filament, the bit of wire inside the bulb that actually makes the light. After sintering, the bars are swaged. In ordinary English, this means that the metal is cooked at enormous temperatures, then reheated and automatically hammered on all sides in a series of machines until it becomes a rod which gets thinner and thinner as it travels down the line. Finally, after some 50 different processes, the tungsten is about half as thick as a human hair. One of those bars you saw eventually makes about 5 miles of filament wire. From now on, the pace quickens. Intricate machines do the actual assembly with uncanny dexterity. The component parts are fed in and high-pressure gas jets are used for molding and trimming the glass. The tungsten wire, now coiled, is accurately clamped into position, and the filaments are now practically ready to be fitted into the glass globes, which are first thoroughly washed to remove any chemical impurities. The bulbs, still open at the base, are placed over the filament sections in quick time prior to being sealed. The bulbs, exhausted of air and filled with a mixture of argon and nitrogen, are now fitted with the caps which will eventually fit into the bayonet socket in somebody's home. Some metal, some glass, a bit of gas, and there you are. Couldn't be simpler.
So we turn right back towards North Wembley Station and begin our way back. Thank you. Okay, suitably refreshed, we're going to turn left down Harrow-Dean Road. And now we take this footpath on the left leading to Lancelot Avenue, which is going to run, well, it used to run between the railway and allotments, but it now runs between the railway and some modern flats. This tall fence is where the allotments used to be, but as I say, there are now flats behind here. The footpath comes out at the end of Lancelot Avenue, which leads into Lancelot Crescent and then becomes Lancelot Road, and all of that has only one vehicle exit, which is at the main junction in Wembley High Road, where Ealing Road goes one way, Harrow Road goes straight across, and Lancelot Road joins at that junction. Now, at one point, somewhere around here was Wembley Cricket Club, and that's what this road led up to. So at this point, it becomes Lancelot Crescent. You can go either way. They both join up again a little bit later. Now, just where the two parts of Lancelot Crescent join up again, and it becomes Lancelot Road, there is this little wiggle in the road to go wide of these new buildings here on the left. And this was another factory. According to the aerial photos taken by Aerofilms, originally it was Fiat UK, but then fairly quickly, when they moved a little bit down the road, it became Cousins, the soap manufacturers. Obviously right next to the railway was a good place to be, so this was Cousins Soap here on the left. I always think it's a shame that when they knock something down and put up flats, they don't name anything after what used to be there. And now over on the right, originally, were the Sunbeam Motor Company, where they made Sunbeam cars. Fairly soon though, that became Fiat UK. But it's not a very large site, and probably not big enough when motor vehicles became much more popular. It wasn't big enough, so they moved out. For a short while, it became something called, I think it was Scophony, but they became Baird Television. And eventually Baird was sold and became Marconi, who in turn were taken over by GEC, and this became a satellite factory for the big one the other side of the railway. Now I understand it that although Marconi made lots and Baird made lots of television, when this was Marconi, it was into spy systems and radar and things like that. It was all to do with defence. The Marconi factory here in Lancelot Road. And then 20 years ago, the factory closed down and these flats were put in. Looking at the old photographs, one of the things I find fascinating is how clear all the vegetation was. If you compare what that railway embankment looks like today with how it looked in the photograph, now that's the 1920s, so the line was 20 years old when those pictures were taken, plenty of time for things to have grown up, but no, they kept them manicured. And that's not how things are today. As I understand it, one of the reasons why things were kept so well presented in the past was because of the labour force. Most jobs were done by hand, and many of them only happened at some times of the year. For instance, in farming, there would be periods when there was not much to do in terms of keeping the farm going. So the workforce were put to other jobs, such as keeping the countryside clear. Once farming became machine-based rather than labour-intensive, there weren't the people left to do the manicuring of the land. I'm not sure how true that is, but it does make sense. As we come up Lancelot Road, over on the left now is the site of the old Wembley covered market. You can see that the flats are actually called Market Way, so at least they have kept that memory on here. So we come to the top of Lancelot Road and this busy junction. As I say, it is a busy junction. Think how much more busy it would be if there was still industry, factories down in Lancelot Road today. And just as we cross, we look back at that junction. Both what is now Coral Betting Shop and HSBC Bank used to be Killips. And there used to be a tunnel, I guess there still is a tunnel, under Lancelot Road, joining the two sides of Killips. The Railway Hotel, later the Village Inn pub on the corner. And we come down Ealing Road. One of these shops down here on the right was our Ennery's. There are many greengrocers in Ealing Road now, but Ennery was the first. Or one of the first, anyway. And there is the cinema, the ABC cinema. In the days before daytime television, Saturday morning television. Went to the Saturday morning Miners there, where they put on programs for children. And probably came out and had an ice cream at DeMarco's ice cream parlour over here on the right. What was St Andrew's United Reformed Church. One thing that has survived against all the odds, I imagine, is the fact that there is still a library in Ealing Road. It's recently had these two wings added. They look quite nice at first, but it's rather garish now. under normal circumstances, even during lockdown, this road is much busier than it is at the moment. But the fact that it's closed at Alperton has significantly reduced the traffic. And here's a site that hasn't been developed since it was knocked down 2 years ago.
Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our house. It has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually quite loud. Our mum, she's so house proud. Nothing ever slows her down, and a mess is not allowed. Our house in the middle of our street. Our house in the middle of our house in the middle of our street. Something tells you that you've got to in the middle of our middle of our middle of our middle of our.
Well, we're now coming up past Keeler's, except Keeler's haven't been here for many years, of course. And this rather curious little road that goes round the back. Victor, Dorothy and Kathleen got large roads, but their dad, Mr. Haynes, just got this, which runs round the back of these buildings. As I say, once upon a time this was all Keeler's Motor Company. Here's the other end of Haynes Road coming out. I don't think it still has a sign which says Haynes Road now. No, it's gone at both ends. But officially that is called Haynes Road. And here's the site of the church halls mentioned earlier on the walk. Checkers pub used to be on that corner. It doesn't seem to matter how often they trim these trees. A few months of spring and they become too low for the streets. And so another circuit of parts of Wembley comes to an end.
And I'm going nowhere fast. It's going nowhere, I'm not gonna last. So close your eyes and feel the rain on your skin. Don't be afraid to let me in. And I'll love you all.